Hey guys, it's Matt again. Tonight we're going to transfer our primary fermentation, which has been sitting now, 8 days? I know I said 7, but it's been 8, no big deal. We're going to transfer it from our primary fermenter into our secondary fermenter, which is the carboy. I've already sterilized or sanitized my test tube, my hydrometer, my turkey baster, and the auto siphon, which is you just stick it in sanitization water, pump water through it, it's sanitized. And this video may run long because this is kind of a long process, so I might have to chop the 2 videos, and if that's the case, then I'll do that. But what we do need to sanitize is our carboy. I've already washed it with soap and water and rinsed it very well. And I've already got a bowl of sanitization water here with the Camden in it, like I showed you before. I also got a funnel. What I'm going to do is put the funnel in the carboy and dump the sanitization water in there. You don't need a whole lot, but you need enough to swish it around. That should be enough. Just grab that, put the Camden in the water in there, and just swish it around a little bit. And don't worry if you get wet. I always get wet doing this. Now if that's done, just pour it back in your bowl. Doesn't matter if there's some water in the bottom, doesn't matter. Take our airlock out. Open this up. Sometimes it's hard. And we're done with the lid. You gotta remember, there's some sediment on the bottom where the yeast has died that's sitting down there. We want to try to get as much of the wine into here without the sediment. It's okay if you get some sediment, but you want to get most of it off. But first we're going to test our specific gravity just to see where the wine's at. Now if you remember, we started at 1.075. So we're just going to see where it's at now. And you can see the wine's all cloudy. That's very typical of most wines. If you leave a wine sit long enough, they clear on themselves. But we're going to use clearing agents later on down the process. So don't be concerned with the cloudiness of the wine right now. So we're going to see where we're at here. We're about 1.030. So you can see where we started at 1.075, which was right about here. Oh, I'm sorry, about right here. And now it's sitting right here. So that's because the alcohol has eaten the sugar. The yeast has eaten the sugar and produced alcohol, making the mixture less dense. So I'll write that on my notes here, just so next time I check the specific gravity, I'll know where it was to where it is. That's also how you can tell if your wine has stopped fermenting, if it's sat in there for a month and the specific gravity hasn't changed. So now we're going to go ahead and transfer this. So just stick one end in the carboy and the other end in your wine. Now don't stick it all the way to the bottom. Stick it about halfway. And You can kind of see through the bucket where this is at, but you kind of can't. So just make your best judgment. And you'll see more as it gets towards the bottom. Just pump this a few times, and you're off. Now we are racking our wine. And this process takes a few minutes, that's why the video might be longer. So, dump my test tube back into my primary fermenter here. And just let it go. And you might have to move the racking cane down a little further as it goes along, but that's nothing new. But that's one of the fun things about winemaking, because you make what you like to drink. Certain people say, well, I only like blushes, I only like red wines, I don't like white wines. There's a million different kinds of wine you can make. And it's make whatever you enjoy. And what's funny about it, we went to a winery, a local winery, I think it's 2 weeks ago, and they told us, when you read a wine description, it says, this wine has subtle licorice flavors and this kind of flavor. And that's really all BS when you read that on wine, as we found out. Because we found out the girl that runs the winery, she takes a bottle home and she drinks it. And while she's drinking it, she has a flavor wheel of all the flavors that your mouth can taste. And she's like, well, it kind of tastes like this, but it kind of tastes like that. And then that's what they write in their description. So, I mean, it's really, like I said, it's all subjective. It's whatever you like. So, there's another thing I wanted to show you. When we get to the bottling process, you can buy a $10 to $12 bottler that you can put on the end of this to fill your bottles with. Or you can buy a little 75-cent piece, which is a hose clamp. And you run your hose through there, and you start your siphon, and you put this on the end of the tube, and you go to fill your wine bottles, and you leave it open while it's filling. You get to where you want, clamp it off, move to the next bottle. Get to the next bottle, open it up. So if you want to get a wine bottle filler, I'm sure they work great. They're $10 to $12. Get this little piece, it'll do about the same thing for 75 cents. So that's one other piece I wanted to show you. How we doing here? Not quite half, but we're getting there. And as this gets towards the bottom, to get the most wine out of here with leaving the sediment, you're going to want to slowly tilt the bucket so you're getting more wine and less sediment. And when you rack it from when in another month, when you rack it again, you can either rack it from carboy to carboy, or if you don't have an extra carboy, you can rack it from the carboy to the primary fermenter and then back to the carboy. But of course you got to wash out the carboy in between. But that's no big deal. It doesn't take long. But you still have to, when you rack out of the carboy, next month you'll be able to see, and of course you can't see here, but you'll be able to see in the carboy a layer of sediment. And then it's so much easier to do it out of the carboy because you can tilt it and you can see the sediment slide, and then you can put your racking cane right above it so that make sure you get the most wine and less sediment. And like I said,